Hello and welcome to the first episode of Babbling, my podcast, video podcast, maybe make it available in audio form as well for you guys that I'm going to be doing once a month here on the Patreon, though it's also going to be as a preview on YouTube and Instagram and everything for this one. So you're probably watching this one more likely than the Patreon. So I only have 9 seconds to get your attention if this is Instagram. So come check out the page. We got sketches and I'm putting up stand-up clips of me falling flat on my face and the guy's heckling me and he's trying to kiss me and it's all just crazy. Check it out. It's a whole load of fun. We got some crazy people on there already and some fun sketches as well that I haven't made public to the main domains across social media. So come and check it out. I got 30 more seconds to catch your attention. I'm writing a show, not a show, a short stories once a month on that as well. That'll be the first week of every month. They're pretty fun, and I'm really bad at promoting myself, it turns out. So that's about all I can do. No, let's jump into the podcast. If you're listening already, thank you very much for joining me this week, this month, whatever time of the year it is for you. Maybe it's 2098 and I'm dead. 2098, I will be 100 in 2098, which is crazy to say. So maybe I'll be alive. I did see a thing recently that apparently everyone born past 2000 will live to be 150. I was born in 98. Does that mean I just missed that? I don't know. I don't know if I wanted it to be 150. That's surely going to be a lot of pain, a lot of healthcare, a lot of medication. I don't think I'll be doing this at 150. Actually, let me scratch that. If I'm still alive at 150, I really hope I'm not still doing this. Good God. Which is a great way to start, really. Saying I hope to one day not be doing this. No, I'm not saying this is fun, you know. You don't want to be towards death doing a podcast. Although I feel like people like Joe Rogan, the likes of Mark Normand or Jordan Peterson, just all the people who just podcast 24/7, they probably will be podcasting until they're dead, which is which is interesting. But yeah, let me jump into I don't know, maybe this podcast. I feel like it'd be a really nice way to touch base about kind of what I want to do with this channel, connect with the Patreoners, the patrons. Obviously, if there's any way I can make this channel more fun, more interesting, more enticing for you, please let me know. But I just want to talk a little bit about my goals for this page, I guess. I mean, the main thing, obviously, is to make enough money to fund future projects of mine. I have so many things on the kind of the back burners, in the right way to say it, being developed, but the thing that's slowing down the process of every single thing I'm working on is financing. I have to either, pay people nothing, which can sometimes suck. Feels bad, especially when you're working with the incredibly amazing and talented people that I get to work with across London. It can be kind of painful to be like, hey, you mind doing this pro bono? So to be able to afford, better filming equipment and paying those awesome people would be amazing. And to just kind of get the ball rolling a little faster on projects I'm working on would be so cool. Like, I'm currently trying to publish a book, and the process of trying to do that is quite expensive. So, things like that would be amazing. Just speed things up. That's kind of like my main goal for the channel. I mean, it'd be amazing if it also hit a point where I'm making enough that I can sustain myself to make a living. But I'm working 2 jobs at the moment. If I even got enough of the channel to quit 1 job, that'd be fantastic. But yeah, I kind of feel worthy of talking about my book now, seeing as I brought that up. In the process of trying to publish that, if everything kind of goes accordingly the way it's working right now, it might be published in September. That's still neither here nor there. That's subject to change, but it feels like that could be a possibility, which would be super exciting. So it's getting kind of close to the Christmas season. People might want to get a book written by Dylan Harris for their dad for Christmas. But yeah, developing that book has been super fun. One of the most challenging things I've ever done. Honestly, the process of writing a book is very different from writing scripts or screenplays or stand-up. It's super long-winded. I think the thing that makes writing a book so challenging is that it's all the written word. Like everything you're doing is based off just, okay, what I'm writing right now, this is the thing. This is the finished product. You know, when you're writing a film script, you can be kind of flimsy with what you're describing. It's like, oh, we'll figure it out when we're filming it, you know, or we'll figure it out in the storyboards or whatever. But when you're writing a book, it's like this is it. You know, it's interesting. So you want to make sure you're setting the scene every time, so that the audience knows what you're reading. It's wild. Like, sometimes I would find writing a book very exhausting, and I'll be writing for, let's say, an hour and a half, and I'll stop, and I'm like, oh, surely I've done like, 10 pages or something, and I'll copy and paste everything I did onto Microsoft Word, and I've done like 3.5 pages. I was like, what? So that being said, I did really, really enjoy the process of writing a book. It really made me feel like a writer, something about being a writer that I kind of romanticize. I like the idea of like someday, I don't know, just being like in Dingle, having a family home, and not a family home, a holiday home to just myself in like Dingle, and I'm like alone, like an island, a deserted area, and I'm just writing. That's all I do. That's how I make a living, I don't think I'd ever do that. I think I actually am a bit more extroverted than I make myself out to be. I don't know if I actually would be able to handle that, but there is something romantic that I like about it. Just like, you just write books for a living, and you're alone on an island, and your only friends are the wind, the nighttime, and the sunlight. I don't know. I'm talking nonsense already. But hey, it's a podcast. Isn't that what it's all about? Talking nonsense. Let me have a little sippy of water. Oh, damn, that's so good. This podcast is sponsored to you by water, our only resource, our only sponsorship. The only people who were willing to sponsor the podcast, actually, was water. I reached out to many, many corporations and many other public domain items like water, and they were not interested. I mean, I really, really tried with bourbon creams because I'm a big fan, but they were not having me. What can you do? But yeah, what else do I want to talk about today? Some other projects I'm working on. I mean, I'm sure anyone listening to this right now is probably following me on Instagram or YouTube and stuff at Dylan's Creations. But projects I'm working on right now, I've obviously shared many times my show, Never Be Me. That show is a collection of my best material from having done stand-up across London for the past 2.5 years now, which is crazy. In one way, I feel like I just moved here, and another way, I feel like I've been living here for my whole goddamn life. That weird mix of like, oh, it feels like forever. It also feels like I just moved here. It's weird, but yeah, Never Be Me is a collection of my best material. It's just been such a fun show to put together. What I like about stand-up is that you don't need to have a theme. They don't need to thematically connect, even though I do think that's something I would like to do someday. I'm a huge fan of Mike Birbiglia, who has 5 amazing specials on Netflix, so I highly recommend you check out. Thank God for Jokes is my favorite special ever, but all of his specials are themed to a certain topic, and I think that's something I'm interested in doing. But I do like that with stand-up, you don't have to. It can just be a collection of good gags, and that is what most stand-up comedians do. He's some of my favorite stand-ups in the world. As I just mentioned Sam Merrill. Sorry, I didn't mention Sam Merrill. I mentioned Mark Normand earlier. Mark Normand's hilarious. Also love Sam Merrill. They have a podcast together called We Might Be Drunk, which is one of my favorite podcasts ever. But they're very their stand-up is just, they do the road for maybe 2 or 3 years, and boom, here is the jokes we have that turned out to be the best ones from doing that. And all their specials are all amazing. Highly recommend. Sam has a special on Netflix called Same Time Tomorrow, and Mark has one called Soup to Nut. Both hilarious. Highly, highly, highly recommend. They also have 2 great YouTube specials. Mark's one is called Out to Lunch. Sam has 2, I think. Yeah, I got this. What was the other one? Up on the Roof, which he did in the pandemic, and it was all done outside, which was really cool and interesting. I find those things so inspiring. Something about those that kind of captures me in a fun way, and it just inspires me, because it's like, these people were almost told you can't do the thing you want to do, but they just still went on and did it. Like, the special Up on the Roof is filmed in parks and rooftops across New York City and stuff like that during the pandemic, when doing stand-up in a comedy club was obviously illegal, and Sam really made the best of it. It is a really inspiring, wonderful special, and I don't know why I'm giving him a shout out because he doesn't need it, but he's hilarious. He's worth checking out. But yeah, Never Be Me. Yeah, that's my collection of my best material. It's been so much fun to put together and kind of, as I said, there doesn't have to be a theme, but you kind of figure out like what bits kind of fit together the most. Like, oh, this stuff is all about sex. Let's put that together there. This stuff's about drinking, so we'll put that into one group there. This stuff's about Ireland, so put that into a little. That's my three things really. The three things that define me: love, sex, and Ireland. Love and sex is the same thing. Drinking in Ireland is also kind of the same thing. I'm rambling like an absolute nincompoop right now. But yeah, that show's been super fun to put together. I've so far only performed it in London a few times, in Brighton last year, and in Tralee, County Kerry, my hometown, last summer. That was a really interesting experience. To be honest, I cut a bunch of jokes for that one because I was like, I'm gonna be performing this in front of like my mom, I cut like maybe 10 minutes worth of content. So instead of being an hour, it was maybe 45, 50 minutes. But it was still a super fun time. It was really surreal because it was like, I don't know any other stand-up comedian who's put themselves in that experience. Everyone in the audience I knew personally. Like, that's weird. In one of the audience I had some relationship with, be it a cousin or my mom's friend, or you know what I mean? It was super bizarre, but also kind of super fun in that way too, because it just felt cheeky. I don't know, I like put myself in situations where it's like, I'm saying things where I shouldn't be saying right now, and you just gotta deal with them. I got the microphone, I have the power, So that was super fun. I mean, I haven't had the privilege of performing stand-up in Ireland too many times, but anytime I have, it's just been a blast. Irish audiences are so goddamn fun and loud. And generous with the laughter too. British audiences can tend to be a little more. They vary. Obviously, I've had incredible sets in London. My best sets in the world. My best sets in the world. My best sets I've ever done have been in London. But generally speaking, I heard Jimmy Carr say that he feels like American audiences go in wanting to like you, whereas British audiences go in wanting to see you fail, which I think is pretty accurate, actually. I would say it's not that black and white. I've had some audiences that were super cool and supportive and fun, but I think generally speaking, it's a pretty good analogy from Mr. Carr. But I think in a way that makes this place a really good place to kind of start off doing stand-up. I feel I haven't done it other places. I don't know what it's like in New York or LA or any place else, but I feel like it's a good place to start off because it's so challenging and it makes you push yourself to only write your best material, only stick with really good material and not get too pushed into this joke kind of works, so I'll keep telling that one. You know what I mean? So yeah, no, it's been a real fun pleasure doing stand up around the UK. I've done Birmingham too, and other bits, Brighton as I mentioned, but mainly London. Unfortunately, I would love to do other bits of the UK soon. But yeah, I'm rambling like a crazy person right now. What other projects am I working on at the moment? We're on a show called Deluded, which is a drama. I would call it mainly a comedy, but elements of drama in there. A dramedy, one might say, kind of that like Judd Apatow, Woody Allen type tone. And it's very much like based off, loosely based off my experiences after my first breakup, and kind of like how your world kind of tumbles after that, how things go crazy after that, because I remember my first relationship. I'm sure anyone listening to this in like their 20s and beyond can relate, is when you get into your first relationship, you do, whoa, I was going to have a really nice analogy there and I burped. I totally killed it, and that is a pretty good metaphor for my whole life, really. But what was I going to say? When you get into your first relationship, you do feel like this is it. Oh, I'm done. Thank God I don't have to do any more dates or any more this and that. I'm with someone right now and this is going to be the rest of my life. And then when that first breakup happens, you're like, oh, never mind. turns out my life is fucked. So it's kind of like that sensation, that feeling is what the show was kind of based off. It's not really autobiographical. I mean, I play myself in it, but the character's nothing like me. My friends in the show aren't my friends in real life. It's I would say like teeny tiny semi autobiographical, but there's nothing wrong with being teeny tiny semi. It's what you can do with that teeny tiny semi. Just to say, you know, I don't know why I'm mentioning that now. But yeah, that show has been super fun to work on. I've already filmed the first episode. I have an amazing cast and crew help me out, and it's just been a blast putting together. Yeah, Duffy Connors is in it, Alessandra Ernest, Leah Wood. I have a good buddy of mine, Will Landon, working on the directing, producing side. He's been absolutely fantastic. Does he clearly wants to bring my script to life the way that I wrote it and the way that I envision it, and it's just really nice to have somebody else on your side there who you really feel like they are truly interested in your voice and in what you want to say in your writing and in your film work. So it's great to have somebody else on your side, because this medium, trying to pursue a career in this industry, can be incredibly lonely. To have a handful of people on your side is, you know, can be incredibly special. So, you know, cherish that when you find it, is my point there. I've been very deep all of a sudden. Jesus, we're only what, 16 minutes in, and I'm talking about find people who make you feel less alone. It's becoming a mental health podcast. Speaking of which, I did that sketch recently that I'm sure people must have seen, called the overly cautious mental health guru, and had a whole load of fun doing that. I definitely want to do more with that character, Benjamin Gangley, which is a very onomatopoeic name, I think. I think he's a super fun character. I think there's more to explore there with a mental health guy who's always like being very safe on all of his words, just in case it's construed in the wrong way, you know? I think that's super fun, because I mean, I love all these mental health quotes, but it's like, if you take them too literally, it's like you could, you know, make a few mistakes. Like, I mean, I have a few. It'd be a nice way to actually share mental health quotes while also making fun of them, I think. Like, what's this one here? Gratitude makes sense of our past, brings peace for today, and creates a vision for tomorrow. Which I genuinely think that's actually really beautiful. But then how can you take that too literally? Gratitude makes sense of our past, brings peace for today, and creates a vision for tomorrow. But don't be going around thanking people all the time, because then you look like a weird idiot, you know? Just going around being like, I am so grateful to you. Every coffee shop you go into, every person you encounter in your life, like, I am so grateful that you exist. Then what's this here? When you notice yourself feeling underwhelmed, say, I am not this emotion. I acknowledge I am more than the feelings I am experiencing. So if you took that too literally, every time you're in an argument with somebody, you stop yourself midway through and you go, I am not this emotion. Be in the moment. So yeah, I think there's so much more fun things you can explore with that overly cautious mental health guru, who, as you will notice being mentioned throughout the video, is also just not a good guy. And I kind of love those details about him. There's more to explore with him, for sure. What I like about doing sketches, actually, is that, like, you can make a character like that who isn't redeemable anyway. Like, you don't really have that option if you're doing, like, you know, a scripted series. Even, like, shows like Breaking Bad, where you might look at Walter White and think, oh, well, but he's a really bad guy. But he does have qualities that you like, you know. We understand why he got there, even if we don't agree with him going there. You know, we see his perspective. But my point being is, I like in sketches, you can just make a totally irredeemable two-dimensional character and just play with that. And I just love exploring that. I mean, writing sketches is one of my favorite things to do. I'd love to do a show someday similar to, like, Tim Robinson's I Think You Should Leave, where every sketch just plays a ridiculous, stupid character. I would just love to do something dumb like that. That'd be so fun. If you haven't seen I Think You Should Leave, there's 2 seasons on Netflix. Just hilarious. All written by Tim Robinson. He's the he's, you know, the weird guy in every sketch, and it's just freaking hilarious and just so clever and smartly written. And you can really watch that and see like he put the effort into every single joke, every single scenario to make it as funny and ridiculous as possible. And I'm just obsessed with that. That's just so cool that someone has had such great success and made a living and obviously worked hard to get there, but he did so just by honing in on stupid. You know, I love that stuff so much. But yeah, but working with Luna has been super fun. Amazing team there. I've been having a blast with that. I've also been putting very kind of early touches on making my first ever, like I said earlier, like a thematically connected stand-up special that is currently being called A Quarter of a Century. Now, the way I'm developing that currently is just kind of doing the jokes in 5-minute pieces around clubs across London. But what I'm obviously, as you can tell from the name, I'm kind of just touching on my first 25 years of existence, basically, and telling stories and anecdotes from those 25 years, things that I've learned, mistakes that I've made, that's made me learn other shit, you know. That's been super fun, just kind of getting to connect with myself in a more emotional way doing stand-up, while also not being, you know, self-serving and masturbatory or anything else, hopefully. But it's super fun to kind of just do these more kind of personal pieces. Like this bit I'm exploring right now is all about death, and death is definitely a touchy subject that can be hard to, you know, talk about on stage. But doing that and kind of seeing how audience relate to that has been super fun and really interesting. And just been having an absolute blast kind of doing those more kind of touchy, biting pieces of material. So yeah, that show's in super early stages. It's hard to say when I'll kind of have that put together where I feel confident enough to make it a full hour show that I perform. But yeah, taking your time with these things are important, and just enjoying the process. I had a really loving the process of this, actually, you know, just hearing these darker jokes and these more kind of revealing jokes, and hearing them and saying, okay, that is interesting that it's revealing, but it's not that funny yet. How can I make it funnier? So that's been super fun to just explore. So yeah, that show's in very early stages. I also filmed, yes, this is the last project I'll bring up. I filmed a short movie with my good buddy Ollie Miller, who also AD'd Deluded and warms up for my show Never Be Me. So I should have mentioned him earlier. Ollie is one of my best friends, a super lovely boy, super cool guy. He sounds Australian, but he's actually English. But we wrote and produced a short film back in November called, it's so dumb, Requiem for a Custard Cream. And it's basically about this guy, played by me, who every time he eats a custard cream, he sees into the future. And that's all I can reveal about it right now, but it's super fun. Ollie is fantastic in it as like kind of the everyman character, because my character is kind of like the goofy guy who goes along with everything. I guess Dumb and Dumber would be a good comparison. I guess like my character is Jim Carrey and Ollie's is Jeff Daniels, because he's still an idiot, but he has more reason than I do, you know. But that was super fun to work on. We worked on that with Jack Tyak, a great comedian friend of mine who has a great vision behind the camera. The short film has, I would say, a very kind of like Bill and Ted quite tone to it, and that it's absurd and goofy and funny. I think it's the weirdest thing I worked on to date, and honestly one of my favorites too. It's just, I'm really looking forward to seeing the finishing product and seeing what you guys think of it. I think it was an absolute blast to work on. But yeah, what else do we got here? I want to go over some stand-up bits I'm working on at the moment. These are very, very early stages. I think I've told all these jokes on stage maybe once each. I might have told some of these twice, but very new, my point being. But they're all jokes where I feel like there's something there. You know what I mean? Yeah, the first bit I want to touch on is about cinema ads. I work at a cinema, so obviously this is very based off experiences I've had there. Just the things I'm in a cinema all the time, so I might have observations that are a bit more detailed than what your average cinema goer would perceive a cinema to be, you know. So I guess that's kind of important too, is make sure you're not getting too kind of inside baseball when you're talking about things like this, making sure it's relatable to anybody. Now, look, everyone's been to a cinema, so surely there's some bit of relatability there. But yeah, this bit at the moment I'm working on is about cinema ads, where I'm basically talking about how, when you first go in and it's like, okay, these are the ads, and you're like, all right, let's get through some ads. Watch a Malteser ad, watch an ad about, Renault, and we'll get on with it. It's fine, whatever. And then we can watch some trailers. And then it's like, okay, this is the trailers. I'm like, oh, great trailers, fantastic. This is so fun. Sometimes this is better than the actual movie. So trailer time. This is what I'm here for. This is what I paid £15 for. And then during the trailers, they'll play another ad. I was like, whoa, hold up a second. We had an agreement here. You said those are the ads, and these are the trailers. Anyway, this is why I had trust issues. So that's kind of the bit I'm working on right now. Not as rambly as that on stage, obviously. I'm just trying to explain it. But you know what I mean? Is it, when you watch, they're like, this is the ads. There's like 10 minutes of ads, and you're like, oh, okay. Uber, fantastic. Yeah, McDonald's, I'm aware. That's still a thing, yes. And you're like, oh, okay, look, can we get this over with? And then they go on to the trailers, and you're like, oh, fantastic. But then there's an ad during the trailers. It's like, ah! Another extension of that I've been trying out is like, they're really weird how they choose their ads too. It's like, I don't think somebody seeing a movie in Leicester Square can afford a Toyota car, So there's something there. It's early stages, but I think once I keep pushing with that, there's something to be found there. What else am I working on? Oh yeah, so back home I have these two black Labradors who I love so much. They're lovely, lovely dogs. One thing I thought about recently while I was home is they're Irish. Like, we never think about animals having nationalities, but they do. Like, my dogs are Irish. But we don't think about that because they don't have an accent. Like, every dog's bark sounds the same. Like, you don't hear a dog in France going, roof, roof. So dumb. But I do think there's something to that observation. That's a good observation, I think. I've never heard anybody have that angle before. So I think there's something to explore there, Like, animals have nationalities. Like, it's really weird. We don't think about that. Like, every dog I see on the tube in London is British. It's really weird. Every cat that passes me in the street, every black cat who passes me, I'm like, oh, bad luck. It's a British cat, which just makes them scarier. Honestly, makes them more intimidating. So yeah, I think there's something there. This last one, I recently finished reading Roald Dahl's autobiography, Boy, which is fantastic, by the way. I highly recommend that book. I'm going to do some recommendations in a second as well. There's an early one, fantastic, wonderful book. He lived a crazy life. But there's one bit in the book where he talks about his alcoholism. And he's saying, like, I feel like every writer is an alcoholic because sometimes a glass of whiskey is all you need to take you away from this dark, torturous world you created. And as I'm reading this, I'm thinking to myself, you wrote James and the Giant Peach. You wrote Fantastic Mr. Fox. Like, what are you saying about these dark worlds? Again, I think there's something there because he's talking about alcoholism and like the torture of being a writer. It's like, you write children's books, It's interesting. I totally do believe that he's telling the truth about his alcoholism and kind of how that helped him through his process of writing, which is bizarre to think about that because that's a very like Charles Bukowski like feelings to have, who obviously wrote very personal, revealing, autobiographical, horrendous poetry and novels and stuff, whereas Roald Dahl wrote The Twits. He wrote Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Weird that wasn't the first one I mentioned, actually. That's the best known one. But you know what I mean? It's just, and they're short too. I feel like being a children's book writer is surely a little bit easier. I get you have to write stuff where you get people's attention because you're writing to a younger audience. You got to really keep their attention, but you're not writing super long pages either. Like, I feel like a Stephen King novel is a lot more complicated to write than like a David Walliams book. Hey, to each their own. Actually, speaking of Stephen King, he had a quote that I loved before. It's in this great interview that he had with George R. R. Martin, where there's a famous clip from that interview where George R. R. Martin says, "How do you write so much?" which is a very fun clip. But Stephen King, or George R. R. Martin asked Stephen King as well. He goes, Would you ever like to write something lighter? Like, do you ever think you'd like to write like a children's book or a romance novel? You know, something that isn't like terrifying to read. And Stephen King goes, "I like how you ask me that question as if I don't have a choice," which is just perfect. You know, I mean, I've never heard a better analogy from like, you know, why writers write in a certain style. You know, you always hear people saying like, "Oh, I wish Wes Anderson would do like a movie that isn't quirky," or you know, I wish Steve McQueen would make a movie that isn't dark. And it's like, this is what they do. You know, some people, I mean, obviously there's some very versatile writers and directors too who do different styles, but some people it's like, this is them. This is what they make. It's like they can't make anything else. You know, this is their voice. This is their passion. This is, you know, with Stephen King, I guess, like, this is what goes on in his head as being captured onto the page, you know? So it's like he couldn't do a children's book. I couldn't imagine Stephen King doing a Charlie and the Chocolate Factory type book. If he did, it would end up being super dark, which would be interesting. That being said, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is also super dark. So what am I talking about? I remember watching the Tim Burton movie when I was a kid, and I was absolutely traumatized by it. I rewatched it recently. My brother, who loves it because he's way less of a pussy than I am. And it actually is a really good movie. Johnny Depp is fantastic in it. He plays such a different Willy Wonka. Like, I definitely prefer Gene Wilder and Timothée Chalamet because they're like these light-hearted, fun Willy Wonkas who like you want to hang out with. You know, you want to like have a beer with them or have a hot chocolate, should I say? But that's such a lame joke. But Johnny Depp is like disconnected for the whole movie. Like he never like fully lets the kids in, and that's what makes his so interesting. And the way he plays a character is so goddamn weird. I know Johnny Depp is a super versatile actor, but he's never played another character similarly to the way that he plays Willy Wonka. It's so strange. His mannerisms and his energy and is very Jim Carrey-esque, I find. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Jim Carrey was maybe inspiration behind it. But it's like, I feel like if Jim Carrey played Willy Wonka, it would have been the exact same way Johnny Depp plays it. It's so strange. His performance is absolutely tremendous, but absolutely bizarre too. Yeah. But yeah, what else did I want to talk about with you guys? I want to just recommend some things. I think that's a fun thing to do. Just kind of talk about some things that I've watched in the past month. Maybe you'll find something worthwhile to watch too. I watched that movie Finch recently, which is on Apple TV Plus, which totally went under the radar. I thought it was a wonderful movie. It came out in 2021 and it's a dystopian sci-fi film. So I feel like that's why it kind of went under the radar, because it came out when we were like still very deep in COVID. And I think the last thing people wanted was a movie about the end of the world, you know? But surprisingly, I think it's a movie we actually could have really used during the pandemic because it's super sweet. Basically, Tom Hanks plays a guy who knows he's going to die because whatever pandemic virus going around has just been taking out every human being one by one. But animals are living. It's only taking out humans. And he has a dog. So he basically creates a robot and tries to train it and make it fully equipped enough so that the robot can take care of this dog when Tom Hanks dies. It's such a wonderful movie. It's so sweet. It really hit me in the feels. Not afraid to admit I had a little teary eye towards the end there. It is really, really worth the watch. Wonderful movie. Tom Hanks is the only actor in it, which is very interesting. There's a robot and there's a voice actor playing him, obviously, but Tom Hanks is the only live action part in it. So very interesting movie. And the dog is also sensational. That dog should have gotten some awards recognition. He's very good. So yeah, wonderful watch. Really, really sweet movie. Kind of had like an up tone to it, like the Pixar movie. So really wonderful. But be prepared to cry and feel like a human, which people seem to like less and less these days. But I personally love it. What else did I watch recently? I watched the last two seasons of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I was super behind that show. And I watched those recently, and I thought they were fantastic. They did a really good job of, like, It's Always Sunny is usually just, you know, crazy scenarios, bad people, boom. And they had some of those episodes, which were super fun. But they also did some more of the kind of character-driven, deeper episodes, which was fascinating and surprising to me. Like, they did a whole trilogy set in Ireland, where I don't want to give too much away. Charlie Day's character meets his dad in it, who's brilliantly played by Colm Meaney. Now, obviously, I'm a bias here. I'd love just seeing an episode set in Ireland, but they really did some deeper stuff with the characters there that was super surprising to see for It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Now, I did recently watch Rob McElhenney's show Mythic Quest, which is also I'd highly recommend, but that goes into deeper areas. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe working on that inspires them to do some more dramatic, deeper stuff. But It's Always Sunny. It was really interesting to see because we had what with 13, 14 seasons of just like nothing, as in like just pure two-dimensional dumb characters. So it was cool to kind of see them do something deeper with those guys. So yeah, really, really fun. Everyone knows It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, but if you haven't watched the show recently, I think it hasn't gone downhill whatsoever. If anything, it's just found ways to sustain its own longevity, and yeah, it's fantastic. What else did I watch? The Holdovers. Oh my god, that movie hit me in the emotion. Amazing movie. Paul Giamatti's eye, I think it was his left eye, like doesn't move. I don't know how they managed to do that. I can't even do that right now. If you're only listening to the audio of this, I apologize. That was a very visual gag I did just there. But wonderful movie. Paul Giamatti is insane in it. Theater 2 are fantastic as well. I don't know their names, unfortunately, but the young guy and the black woman, just amazing. It's just such a sweet movie. It's like a celebration of life. Speaking of these three people who get held in a high school for the Christmas period and they can't go home. And at the beginning, they all hate each other and they're all miserable to be around each other. And it's kind of just like about like how you can learn to like someone just by taking somebody in, you know? It's a beautiful message like that. And I won't give too much away. It's worth the watch. I mean, it's getting nominated for all the Oscars, so it doesn't need my plug here, but it was a wonderful movie. It touched me in the feels, and I think it's worth the watch. And its message is wonderful, you know? I really hate people who say, like, I don't hate anyone. I hate when people say, you know, first impressions last, or people who are like, oh, you know, I'm always right about my first impressions of people. It's like, no, you're not. Like, the first time meeting someone isn't a good frame of reference. If you met someone for 15 minutes, it's like you've only met 5% of that person. You know what I mean? So it's like, give people a chance. Sometimes when you really let people in, you can find they're actually pretty freaking wonderful. Other way around too, sometimes people might seem awesome straight away and you find out they're a total fucking douchebag, you know, and you want to give them a swirly, you know, it can vary. But yeah, that film was wonderful. It had a fantastic message. What else did I watch? All of Us Strangers, fantastic. Again, the bias here of just loving seeing Irish actors killing it. Felt the same way about Barry Keoghan and Saltburn. I was just like, yes, boy. I would love a role like Barry Keoghan's and Saltburn, by the way. Not because I want to show my dick or drink bat water. I just love a weird part like that. But All of Us Strangers was insane. Andrew Scott and Paul Mescal are just amazing in it. So just love seeing Irish actors just kill it like that. But then also Claire Foy and Jamie Bell absolutely broke my heart in it too. Andrew Scott, who I think is just amazing. Loved him in Fleabag as well as Sherlock. I've never seen him not give 110%. Great actor. But his performance in that is amazing. He plays this writer who's trying to write about his parents that he lost when he was 12. And he starts dating Paul Mescal, and finding love helps him kind of connect with the love he used to have with his parents. And it's just a beautiful movie, but it's also tragic. It's super sad and bleak. So definitely go in like preparing to grieve, you know, because that's definitely what that movie captured. And what's the last thing I want to talk about? A stand-up special. I recently watched Anthony Jeselnik's Thoughts and Prayers, which is on Netflix. Wow, I mean, that special just showed like how you can really do it when you just keep going for a long time. Just one-liner after one-liner after one-liner. I'm going to tell one of his jokes, and I'll probably butcher it, but I loved it so much. It just made me laugh as he talks about how when he was younger, he had a black friend who he took home to school one day, and his mom took him aside, and he was like, hey, your friend's black. Is he a drug dealer? And I was like, Mom, that's racist. Put your money away. I love gags like that. Just the visual is so good of the mom like taking out the cash as she's saying it. And all that comes at the end is just a great like burst of energy, you know. Rodney Dangerfield, another fantastic comedian from the 80s. He's long dead, but I highly recommend jumping into his biography of jokes. He has another great visual gag like that I love, where he goes, his whole act was like, you know, I get no respect, and like, I get no respect. And, you know, I was walking home one day, and I saw a man out jogging naked, and I was like, hey, why you no clothes on? And the guy goes, I didn't know you'd be home so early. It's a great game because you're thinking about like how the guy saw him coming home and he was like, oh, better get going. He doesn't put his clothes back on. But then when he's going out, sees Rodney Dangerfield, tells him that he's screwing his wife. It's just a great, like, obviously you need to explain the jokes, probably not very funny. I'm just talking about how I love those visuals and what it kind of gets you thinking after the fact. I think is amazing. That's why those big bursts of laughter happen, because it just creates these amazing images in your head. And I think, yeah, Ronnie Dangerfield and Jeselnik are two great examples of like two people who just, when you watch their material, you can see, oh, this is where you can get when you just keep at it, keep honing those jokes, keep writing, keep pushing with that really solid material. And Thoughts and Prayers, highly recommend. Just like an insane special. That movie does not miss a beat. He just keeps going. Super dark stuff, so you gotta be prepared for that too. He's probably like an American Jimmy Carr. He's all one-liners and, you know, really dark punchlines, but freaking hilarious. And I think that's pretty much everything I want to talk about today. Thank you for listening or watching. If you did, thanks for supporting the Patreon. This has been really fun, actually. I was kind of nervous going in, like, oh, what am I going to talk about? I'm going to be done in 10 minutes, but it actually ended up being a blast. Fun talking about shit. I know, it's kind of fun to share your passions and things you're working on and getting to talk about those. And I know, I feel excited coming out of this, actually. You know, all these things brewing, you know, and it's super fun. Thank you to my one patron so far, Sean O'Callaghan. Really appreciate having you here. Hopefully have some more guys very soon. And yeah, thank you guys for listening or watching. This is fun. Stay tuned for more babbling next month. All right.